chat with my very good friend Mark Golden from Twitter. Mark, how the heck are you tonight?
I am doing splendidly. How about yourself?
I am doing good tonight. I just finished watching TNA. Pretty slow night. Not much going on here in New Hampshire. What's going on where you are?
Well, I'm just having a relaxing evening tonight. I go into work tomorrow. I am going to be running the show entirely over the weekend, so I'm just kind of chilling tonight. Again, it was another nice evening, so I was at the grill and making a little dinner. So I'm just watching some Palladia and not much else.
There you go. Are you in Pittsburgh? Whereabouts are you?
Well, I'm from Pittsburgh, but currently I live with my girlfriend. We live in central Ohio, Columbus, suburban Columbus.
I've been to Ohio. Just looking for something real quick, sorry. Yes, I've been to Ohio. Pretty good. I went to a Cleveland Indians game out there once.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's the sports. You guys love the sports. I'm not a sports guy, but I know that people here in the area, college football and baseball, professional baseball, are really hot here. The Cincinnati Reds are really hot, but it's funny because there's not a lot of fans of the professional football. They like Ohio State here, so it's college football and pro baseball are really hot in this area.
Well, you guys got a good football player coming through the ranks. I don't know if he'll start this year, but I think your Browns have always been that team that lied in the weeds, but have always been kind of the laughing stock of the league, really.
Well, that's like I said, I'm not a sports guy, but Dolph Ziggler's from here.
There you go.
Hey, and Jerry the King Lawler's favorite team is the Browns. And look at us, we got the same. We got the same. Looks like we have the same shirt on almost today too.
That's funny. So did you watch TNA this week?
Of course, I never miss it. I watched Thursday night, but before I get to that, do you want me to do that?
Oh yes, we are going to do our. Mark wants to do an impression for me, and if I can guess his, I have to come up with one. So let's do that now.
All right, I guarantee you're gonna figure this out in a second. Well, tonight I'm eating Doritos. I'm eating Doritos Jacked. I'm eating Doritos Jacked, and I have Kahlua. I have Kahlua. I have my Kahlua.
Is that Vince Russo or is that Ryan Patrick being Vince Russo?
I have Listerine whitening. I have the Listerine. I got the Listerine. I have Jelly Belly jelly beans. I'm eating pistachios here. See, I got my pistachios. That's Ryan. You're right.
Can I tell if you were trying to be Ryan being Vince Russo, or if you were...
I have a half a Toblerone. I have a Rice Krispie treat. I have some Thomas's English muffins.
There you go.
My dog is humping my leg. No, that was Ryan. You were right.
I have some... tonight's show is brought to you by Golden Peak Raspberry Iced Tea for you. There you go.
Our natural ice beer.
There you go.
That's my favorite. Hey, was that a funny Ryan? Was that a funny Ryan impression?
Yes, that was pretty funny.
Thank you. Okay.
And all joking aside, no, malice intent behind that.
Of course not. He would appreciate it because he is a fan of comedy, and if you can't laugh at yourself, you can't laugh at anything or anyone else.
Okay, since I got that right, now I have to do one. Is that the game?
Yes. You have to guess. You have to do an impression, and I have to guess it. And then we will continue on with the show.
Okay. All right. Let me think of somebody. Just talk of something until I think of somebody. Whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I will start with your previous question about TNA. Or you asked me if I watched TNA. I did watch TNA.
Yeah.
TNA, like I said earlier in previous Horseman Hangouts and talks with you, that they. I don't know, man. I think they're trying to do a reboot with their entire roster. I think they are try and, a whole new, wipe the slate clean. They kept a few long-timers, and, like James Storm and Bobby Roode. There's not a whole lot of guys that have, and the current champion, EY, I mean, he was there. But there's not a whole lot of wrestlers with TNA that have been there from day one or most of the last 10 to 12 years. So
did I ask you on the last show what you thought of EY as a champion?
I don't think it came up. Maybe it did. I don't recall. But he's okay. Yeah, we did talk about it because we talked about the similarities between that and Daniel Bryan being the...
Okay, we did. All right.
Yeah.
So never mind. All right, so we did. So I got the person that I'm going to do. So
okay, let's see. Let's see if I can...
I think you're going to get this right away. If you don't, I'd like to visually smack you through the computer, but...
All right.
What you do, Mark Golden, when the Hulkster comes running wild on you? Triple H Guy 2004, brother.
You said it. You get, yeah, Hulkamania. You that was the best you could do. Okay, that was all right, but I got it. We both guessed each other's impressions. Brother.
I gave it away with the Hulk Hogan, but oh well. I couldn't think of anything else on the spot, so.
That's one of those impressions that somebody could have a Spanish. They could do that in Spanish, and you could still guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to TNA. Yeah, I watched TNA. Basically, I thought maybe we could, go through what happened on TNA this past week, and give our thoughts on,
Sure.
So, all right, let me get my notes out here.
Let me get my... Go ahead.
All right, so we basically had Samoa Joe come out and call out MVP, and Bobby Lashley and Kenny King come out with MVP, of course. What did you think of this segment?
Well, which part was this?
This was the beginning part. They basically came out and jarred with each other back and forth.
Oh,
and then
okay.
They set up the match between Samoa Joe and Austin Aries.
Yeah. This is my big beef that I have with wrestling right now, and WWE has not been doing as much, but TNA's been doing it a lot lately. Is the 10 to 15 to 20 minute opening with the long talky parts. It's the same. It's so repetitive. It's been for so long where we have in-ring promo. I think that the professional wrestling ring should be looked at as hallowed ground, and the interview should be done maybe at ringside or in the back. Or if somebody's got something to say, maybe grab a cameraman and say, look, I got something to get off my chest or whatever. But having interviews in the ring should be saved for maybe the occasional contract signing and maybe the occasional wedding cake to the face, but only for wrestling matches. They need to stop with that.
Contract signing shouldn't happen all the time. I don't like the contract signing. It's too predictable all the time. They never change it up.
Yeah, it is. It is. But what I'm saying is that
I got what you're saying, Mark.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I won't go on for another 20 minutes on that, but you get my point.
So, basically, he told Joe that, Joe took his ball and went home. And then Aries comes out, so MVP sets up a match between Austin Aries and Samoa Joe, and basically if Joe loses, he gets fired, and if Austin Aries loses, he gets fired.
Yeah, they never even had an end result to that.
We'll get to that later.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it was. I don't know. I mean, you knew that there would be some chicanery, and there eventually was, as we'll get to.
Yeah. So we go. Basically, that match happens. That's the end of that segment. Then we go into Willow and Bram match. This was an okay match. Magnus comes out and ends up being a disqualification when Bram goes for the crowbar, and Magnus comes out, and then he grabs it from him and uses the crowbar on Willow and gets him disqualified. And Willow wins via disqualification. What do you
Yeah,
think?
he had to prove himself to Bram as being lethal and cutthroat
Yes,
and
that's basically what
vicious.
they're doing.
Yeah, and then he finally did, and that's going to lead to a match with Magnus and Willow at Slammiversary or some sort of, I don't know.
Yeah, basically we're on the road to Slammiversary. The last gears on the road to Slammiversary. So, I think we have one more show before Slammiversary, if I'm not mistaken.
One more.
One more Impact.
Yeah, there is. I read the results.
Yeah.
And hey, tonight our thoughts should be with Jim Ross.
What the hell's going on with Jimmy Ross?
Apparently, he was in Las Vegas for Cauliflower Alley Club on Thursday, and he didn't feel too hot. He was feeling a little disoriented and not feeling too hot, so he checked himself into the hospital at his wife's urging, and he's still there now. And he said he's going through a battery of tests. So I don't know. We'll see. He's tougher than and I tweeted this to him.
Tougher than a $2 steak.
Yeah, tougher than a $2 steak cut from a government mule. Yeah, he'll be okay.
There you go. Drenched in JR's barbecue sauce.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Have you ever had his sauces?
I've never tried it. I'm not knocking it, dude. I want to try it. I didn't buy it when I went to WrestleMania. I had the chance to buy it, but I didn't.
Oh man, I have ordered that from him, and he still sells it to the WWE Network, regardless of Ryan's impression. He still does sell it to the WWE Network. It is fantastic. There's hot sauce, hot barbecue sauce, standard barbecue sauce, jalapeno mustard, chipotle ketchup, which is the best, and there's beef jerky too, and seasoning.
How's this beef jerky?
It's okay. Yeah, it's good. I mean, there's about 6 different flavors. They're good. I suggest if you have the extra money, try it out. It's good stuff.
Well, not this month I won't be, but back to TNA, we basically have a Wolves relaxing in the back, and then basically MVP sets a match between, the Wolves and the Wolves against each other match.
Yeah.
And then we get into the match, and Davey Richards' ribs and whatever, they're saying that his injury is they're saying it's his ribs and his what?
His liver or something, or his ribs and liver or something. From
ribs and liver, yeah.
I don't know. It was a good match.
Yeah.
I think.
And we had Kenny King barking from the top of the ramp throughout the match, like doing commentary and barking stuff, like he, owned the place. Basically, that's how he was acting on the top of the stage.
Did you notice too at the beginning of the show when they were coming out? MVP asked Kenny King. It was some sort of a strange overhead camera view when they were coming through the back. And
I didn't see that.
MVP asked, "Have you seen Samoa Joe?" And Kenny King said no. And Bobby Lashley kind of slapped Kenny on the chest and said, "You mean no, I haven't, sir." And they're kind of treating Kenny King like the little
bitch boy,
like a little intern or something. Yeah. They're kind of treating him like a little punk. I think that.
What are you saying? They're trying to treat him like Dixie Carter treated what the hell's his name? Spud, Rockstar Spud.
Not as down. She doesn't. They don't talk as down to him as she does to Spud, but it's kind of the same mentality. Yeah, he's kind of like their Rockstar Spud in a way, but he can wrestle. But yeah, they're kind of treating him. It's kind of like if that group does break up, it'll be because of that. So they're already putting that out there that there's some tension in the ranks among the three.
Yeah. So basically, the Wolves match got disqualification. Was it?
No, Eddie Edwards pinned Davey.
Okay, he pinned Davey. That's right. Okay.
It is a victory roll of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a victory roll, and then
Then they got mad at him for the fight. What's that?
And then Kenny King came down the ring, and they threw him out of the match, and then threw him out of the ring, and that's basically the end of that segment.
Well, yeah, he was mad they weren't fighting, so he said, "You guys usually kick people," so then they threw him around and kicked him. Yeah.
Right. And then we see a pitching contest in the back between Dixie and MVP. Nothing really came of that.
Something is going to, though.
What do you think's going to happen between this?
Well, I think you'll see a three-way, four-person kind of a feud. Like Dixie's crew versus TNA versus MVP people. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like remember how we were talking about the NWO before. There was the NWO black and white, NWO black and red, and then the NWO this, and then just regular WCW people, and then Roddy Piper had it in his own group. I think it'll be like a few different factions within the company fighting with each other.
Yep.
I'll tell you though, and then I'll let you go. I'm just gonna make this brief. TNA wastes entirely too much time. They only have 2 hours a week. WWE has like 8. They can afford to waste time. TNA just, oh my God, they waste so much time with backstage nonsense and in-ring talking, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, I hear you. I enjoy the wrestling though. Wrestling is good. They got that down.
It's always been good. I'm looking forward, and I hope they do it this year. The Bound for Glory series. I was always a huge fan of that. I hope they do it again this year. Go ahead with the rest of the show. I won't. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then we basically, what the hell did we have after that? We had Brittany in the back, like trying to lesbian up to friggin' Madison Rayne. And Madison Rayne pretty much wasn't having any of it, and she said, "Stay away from my match. Don't do anything during my match, my rematch for the Knockouts Championship."
That's almost becoming like Trish Stratus and Mickie James. Remember that?
Yeah. I was just gonna say that it's becoming, it's similar.
I think the reason I think she's screwing up her matches or whatever she was complaining about because she's going to be one of the beautiful people. That she's a former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, I think.
Yes.
That one. What's her name?
Brittany.
Yeah, she's from what I read. She
was on the Indies too, if I'm not mistaken. She was like. I think her name was Cheerleader Melissa or something like that.
No, that's not the same person. Cheerleader, no. Okay. Cheerleader Melissa. Do you remember? Awesome Kong or Amazing Kong? What the hell is her name? You remember her assistant, her sidekick that had the
Saeed?
Yeah, that was a Cheerleader Melissa, and she was also called Future Legend.
Okay. All right.
Something. She had a brief run on her own in wrestling at TNA. That's not the same person you're thinking of.
Okay. All right. And then we find out that Robbie E is afraid of clowns.
Next.
That's all I wrote for that. And then
you know why? Because we'll get into a 30-minute argument about it, like we did the other night. You hate
Menagerie in the Rebels segment. Bromance get beat up basically.
Oh.
And then we won't even talk about this because we don't feel the same way on it. We don't like it.
Yes, it's a waste of airtime.
And then we see another waste of kind of airtime. We see Gunner playing cards with Sam Shaw at the Nut House. The visit continues. The visit continues throughout the night, and I'm going ahead a little bit because they broke it up into segments. Basically, we saw Shaw ask for a sketchbook, and then he asked Gunner if he looked at it, and then Gunner basically later on asked him if he could look at him, and Shaw gave him permission. So what did you think about the segments with Sam Shaw and Gunner?
Well, he said, I guess it was last week or the week before, Gunner said something. See, Gunner said something about being in Sam Shaw's place in the past because he was like post-traumatic stress he had been he put away after his time in war. Gunner said that to Sam.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I used to criticize WWE really I'd say about 3 years ago or so. And TNA had so much wrestling. And I love when you have a show that has good matches, wrestling matches. And they wasted so much time. And I say, oh, my God, 3 hours of nonsense. But WWE has had introduced more wrestling in the last year or so. And TNA has had so much more backstage, just nothingness happening. Or pre-tapes or whatever. It's just such a waste of time. If your contract with your network expires in a few months, you shouldn't be. And they wonder whether ratings are a 0.8, 0.9, 1.0. Because nobody cares about this stuff. Who cares about this? What is that? What is the Sam Shaw talking to, or Gunner talking to Sam Shaw? What's the point of it? I have no clue. I have no idea. It's just, it's silly. I hate it. I hate that stuff.
Yeah, me too.
If it's leading to something, fine. But let's have a payoff, and they won't. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to go on and on about it. Go ahead.
All right. So what the hell happened next after that? What were we on? What subject were we on from?
Gunner talking to Sam Shaw in the nut house in the hospital. And
all right, so what happened after that? I can't remember. Do you remember what happened after that?
You just watched the show. I watched it 2 days ago. I don't remember.
I tried to make notes, but something happened with my notes.
Wow, that's sad. I can't recall. I guess was there the First Blood 8-man tag? Was the end? That was the main event.
That was the end. Yeah, we had the we had the knockouts match in between, basically. And we just had a bunch of useless segments in between.
Oh, Mr. Anderson came out dressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came out dressed mocking Cowboy.
Cowboy and.
Yeah, he talking about drinking. That impression, his impression of Cowboy James Storm sounded like Ryan's impression of Jim Ross.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, that was pretty funny segment. And then that basically led into a brawl. And then we went into the knockouts match, I believe, didn't we?
Man, you just watched the show like 20 minutes ago. I don't know.
Yeah, then I think we went into the knockouts match, Madison Rayne versus Angelina Love, and then...
It sounds so sexist, but I don't watch Divas matches or knockouts matches. The only women's wrestling that I watch right now, if there's a women's match on NXT, I'll watch it. Well, I DVR wrestling most of the time. I DVR it, and I'll start watching 10 minutes late. And if it sucks, I zip right past it, just like I do the commercials.
Yeah. And then we went into the main event, the 8-man tag. First Blood match. What did you think of this match?
It was a nice way to prelude the top four of the top matches on the card at Slammiversary. They really did manage to involve all of those 8 competitors in that in the pretty much the top half of the card. You had MVP, who will be facing EY if his knee isn't too screwed up, which it is. What I read is he might not be ready to compete by then. MVP. Yeah. And Bully Ray and EC3. And as we'll see on next week's episode of Impact, that match at Slammiversary will be a Texas Death Match.
Okay.
And I'll explain the rules of a Texas Death Match later if you want me to. Also, Bobby Lashley will be facing Samoa Joe, and Kenny King will be facing Austin Aries. All those 4 matches will take place at Slammiversary. So that was kind of a smart booking decision for that main event. Bully Ray punched EC3 in the face with a chain wrapped around his fist.
Yep.
And there was what looked like he scratched himself shaving on his forehead. Okay, that if everybody pisses and moans about wrestling should be more real. If somebody smashes your face with a chain wrapped around their fist, it would probably cause a cranial fracture. Maybe your eye will pop out like Stan Hansen did Vader, or it would bust your face. If you're gonna have a match where the rules are the losing person or persons has to bleed and gets punched in the face with a chain that's as thicker than a bicycle chain or a wallet chain, it would cause, it's going to cause serious facial damage. I mean, come on, that's just stupid. It was okay.
She busted him wide open with it.
Remember Hercules and Billy Jack Haynes at WrestleMania 3 when he was punching Billy Jack, man. You believed it. His blood was pouring off out of his face. They at least attempted to make that look somewhat legit. You know?
Yeah.
But that was a stupid ending. But I get it. And then the four guys stood there with their hands in the air. They're creating a united front against the fucking
black guys.
Yeah. The black evolution. That's so racist, Stephen. That's terrible. But people say that.
All right, the three black guys.
That's not nice. Go ahead.
Try to be mean. The black evolution. I don't know about that, but
I don't participate in that kind of conversation. That's not nice. Go ahead.
I wasn't trying to be mean. No, I really wasn't.
Okay, I know. Go ahead.
All right. So that was TNA basically. What else would you like to talk about tonight, Mark?
You're hosting. You make the call.
I didn't have much of anything else planned.
My Kahlua. This is brought to you by
my raspberry iced tea.
How is it?
It's good. Raspberry.
Ask me. I'm open. Ask me whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Kraft Parmesan. Look at this. Good on spaghettis.
I got some too.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm open. Whatever you want to talk about, I don't give a shit.
Did you watch Legends House this week?
Not yet. I'm going to. I'm also going to check out Orange is the New Black on Netflix.
Oh, I don't have that.
You don't have Netflix?
No.
But yeah, I'm going to watch the Legends House. I wanted to see that because it looked like there was some upset. See, that's the thing. Like, they showed trailers. There was one trailer for Legends House where it looked like Mean Gene was sobbing. He was like, did you see that for a future episode?
When was this?
Like, whenever they had that, remember before it started on the network, they would talk about coming up in May is Legends House. Yeah. And there was a scene where Mean Gene was really crying hard, and I wondered what was going on with that. And they said that they only take 10 episodes, and that would mean that after this week's, there's only 2 left.
No, there's 1 left.
Or 1, okay.
I think next week's the end of it.
But they had the roast, and it looked like that a lot of people were getting pissed off. I'm interested to see, and I've said it before, and I think I'm interested to see what the heat is between Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Tony Atlas.
Oh yes, I want to see what the hell that is.
Because you can tell, man, they look at each other like they want to just throw down.
Yeah. A
lot.
I don't know. I've never heard anything of it.
The only thing I can think of, and I've said this before, it had something to do with their time in WWF or their time in Mid-South, because they were both there at the same time. I honestly, I have looked it up. Nobody seems to know anything. So it must have been something happened between the two of them that they just didn't. It wasn't public.
Yeah, I have never heard anything about it. About any beef between them.
Me either. So what else you got? Come on, man.
I'm trying to think.
Ask me some stuff.
Okay, well, you really didn't get to talk about this on Monday night with the Tuesday night with the Horsemen. What do you think about Seth Rollins' heel turn?
I really liked it, and I'll tell you why. Because I never would have guessed that in 100 years. And I am sick of wrestling being predictable. The fact that that was not predictable, and if any of those guys were going to turn, I think that the majority of people who watch this shit would have agreed with me that they would have thought that it was going to be Dean Ambrose, because he looks like, I mean, he always looks, he's got that snarl on his face, and whenever the fight's breaking out, he's acting like they're holding him back. He always has that cocky, that early mid '80s Roddy Piper, crazy Brian Pillman, demented look in his eye, just crazy. And I think that he looked like a heel from day one. Seth Rollins is doing face-style moves like leaping off of balconies and over the top rope and onto 7 people.
Yeah, he's going to have to change up his style when he goes.
Yeah, I think that was the deal. I think it was that Roman Reigns is the future of faces. He'll be the face champion by this time. But by WrestleMania 31, the morning after WrestleMania 31, we will be talking about Roman Reigns' world title. Mark my words. WrestleMania 31, you will see Roman Reigns as the WWE champion. Whether he beats Brock Lesnar or Triple H or Hornswoggle or El Torito or Randy Orton or whoever the fuck he beats, Roman Reigns is their future. I think they have stock in this guy. I think that they see him as a future star, and he's doing it slow but smart. But as far as Seth Rollins' turn, I honestly, and I always hate, you could see a turn coming. I did not see that coming, and if there was going to be a Shield turn, I thought for 100% that it was going to be Dean Ambrose. And the look on, and it's funny because I didn't even know there was going to be a turn. They were talking trash amongst each other, and I
actually saw her. I'll tell you where I saw it coming. I saw Dean Ambrose. Seth Rollins. He wasn't lined up correctly with them. They weren't symmetrical.
Well, yeah,
he was sitting back a little bit from them.
Yeah.
And then he goes out to the outside floor. I'll just break it down for you. He goes out to the outside floor.
2 chairs.
2 chairs.
Yeah.
So, because what I thought, I didn't think about it right away, but then I was like, wait a minute. He grabbed 2 chairs, one for Batista and one, he beat down them. Is basically
yes.
What he did.
Well, the 2 times, this is too funny, because at WrestleMania 30, when Brock Lesnar pinned Undertaker, I got up before, like 10 seconds before he scored the pin, I got up to grab a cold beverage, and I missed it. And I was like, what? So I mentioned that only because when Seth hit them, I turned my head for a second away from my TV, just like this. Over here is my television. I did this. And I turned back because then I was like, somebody got hit. I thought somebody came into the ring and did something, and I missed it.
Yeah.
There's Dean standing there with shocked.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely shocked. He didn't see it.
And he beat them so severe, especially Roman. Roman tweeted a picture of his back. His back looks like he fell off of a second-story house.
Yeah.
His back is badly beaten.
I didn't see that picture.
Oh, it is. It's pretty gross. He's all bruised and scraped. Seth Rollins beat them as hard as he could, I think.
Yeah.
And that was a turn that no one saw coming, and it was brilliant. It was smart. I loved it a lot, and I wouldn't have changed it because you got the IWC, shitting their hipster pants over this because they weren't able to predict it. That's what's funny.
Yeah, but it was a great heel turn for him. I really liked it myself, and like you said, it was good.
It was. You don't see enough of that. There's
No.
If you have a constant hot potatoing of people turning and changing and switching, if you do if you do a swerve too much, then it's not a swerve anymore. It's routine. But when you do it to the point where it's like these guys were like brothers,
right?
Batista leaving was more predictable than.
Well, yeah, you saw that coming.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. That wasn't a shocker.
No, if anybody was shocked by that, you're stupid. You just don't even pay attention.
Exactly. But Seth, I think even the Shield itself splitting. If Dean Ambrose turned and went with them, it would have been neat, but it would have been more obvious than Seth of the three. And if you remember a few weeks ago, there was a 6-man tag with the Wyatts and the Shield, and Seth left the match. He just walked away. Remember, he was like, "You guys are fighting all the time. I can't take this. I'm sick of being the glue that keeps this team together." I think that was a bit of a seed planted.
Gotcha.
Because by the time he came back, I think the Wyatts already lost. They got the Wyatt, the Shield already lost. The Wyatts had already beat them. He came back; it was too late. Seth.
Right.
Okay, a Texas Death Match. The Texas Death Match.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what.
I'm listening.
Bully Ray and EC3 are going to have at Slammiversary. The Texas Death Match goes like this, and this is cool to see that they're bringing this back. It's really old school, and it's cool. It's almost like a last man standing match, but if you pin your opponent anywhere in the building, they have 10 seconds to get back up on their feet.
Right.
You have to pin them first, though. You have to pin them, and when you pin them, then they have to.
Gotcha.
So I like that element. I think it's an interesting take, an interesting twist.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm just gonna have
What is the best Texas death match you've ever seen?
Well, there are two, and they both involve Mick Foley. I'm eating some pistachios.
Pistachio.
Mick Foley against.
How are those pistachios?
Oh, they, like the bag describes, they are wonderful. Okay.
Yep, Mick Foley against.
Dude, you're dying. Where'd you go?
I'm right here.
It sounded like you were dying.
Nope.
Okay.
So Mick Foley in a Texas death match between.
I will tell you. I have a homework assignment for you to do after this show.
Okay.
And they both are on the WWE Network.
Okay.
Go and see. Would you rather see a War Games match or 2 Texas Death Matches?
I've seen War Games pretty much. I had the War Games DVD for a while, but I had to sell it.
I've said this a million times. Watch the one from 1992, Wrestle War. That's as from one fan to another. You must see that.
Wrestle War. What? Which year?
1992.
All right.
Watch the last 2 matches on that show.
Okay.
You will pee. You will never be. You will look at wrestling in a whole new light when you see.
Okay. What's the main event?
The Dangerous Alliance of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ravishing Rick Rude, Beautiful Bobby Eaton, Larry Zbyszko, and Arn Anderson against Sting, Nikita Koloff, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Dusty Rhodes, and Barry Windham. Everyone's bleeding, and everyone is fighting. It is the greatest.
Nice.
And then
so
when
what's the other match that you want is on there?
The Steiners against a Japanese team, and the Steiners beat them severely. It is great.
I love the Steiners, dude. They're a great tag team.
You watch those two matches, you will just love it. Now
I was always a big fan of Scott Steiner before he started enhancing his body, if you know what I mean.
Before he started looking like superstar Billy Graham.
Yes, when he started using the juice, as you would say.
Well, the two Texas death matches you have to see. Well, there's only one I can think of that would be on the network. The other one was on ECW, and I don't know what show it was from. Sometime in February of 1995. It's Cactus Jack against Sandman. And then the other one that comes to mind is Cactus Jack against Vader at Halloween Havoc 1993. Okay. So you watch that on the network, and that is a Texas death match, and those guys beat each other senseless.
Vader versus... Okay, I'm just writing these down in my phone. Versus Cactus. Yeah. And that was when, at what? Which one? Which event?
Halloween Havoc 1993. Brought to you by Thomas's English Muffins.
Was it really?
No.
Okay. 90. All right.
I'm telling you, man, if you want to see some throwdown old school wrestling, you got to watch the old WCW, NWA shit. Yeah. Believe me when I tell you.
Oh, I'm up to watching anything, man. I really am a wrestling fan, you know. I'm not afraid to watch anything. I watch pretty much... Dude, I'll watch the local shit on the friggin' channel. I've said this before. I watch the local wrestling on the channel. That's literally like the only thing that you would ever watch on this channel because it's basically infomercials and I don't even know what else.
Yeah. Just like a local infomercial thing.
Yeah. And then on Saturday or Friday night, or going into Friday night, I think it is Thursday night at midnight or something like that. Going into Friday, they show like a half-hour wrestling show.
There's wrestling from your area on it?
Yeah, it's called New England Championship Wrestling.
Are there any known names there, or is it mostly rooks?
There's a lot of guys that have traveled the independent circuit.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of like they'll bring in maybe like some big names every now and again, but they're never on this show, no.
No. Well, that's like I told you, that Ohio Valley Wrestling is on here. I think it's on Sunday night at like midnight or 1 a.m. Yeah. And actually, it's on Ohio, Fox Ohio Sports Net or something, like the local. It's a local sports channel that has all the college football and baseball stats and shows and games, but then Sunday nights it has the Ohio Valley Wrestling, and I think it's on about an hour and a half or 2 hours, and a couple of the guys from the Tough Enough in 2011 are on there.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Matt Cross. Oh, you know who else is on there too? Remember, the kid with the wrestler with the one leg.
Zach Gallen.
Yeah, he's on there sometimes too. I don't think that show is in any sort of.
I don't think it's affiliated with anybody anymore.
No, it's not. But also, I don't think they broadcasted continuity because I watched it one week, and they said next week we're gonna have some sort of a thing match, and then I tuned in the following week and they didn't have that match. I think that
what the fuck? I turned in for this. You had me all hyped for it.
Yeah. I think it's just random, or there's no
shows to show.
Yeah, that's what I got from it. Or like somebody was the champion one week and then someone else was the champion the following week. So I don't think that they played in order for some reason. It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Probably because nobody's watching it.
Probably not. Only like people that have nothing else to do then.
Yeah, like me at 1 a.m. that day.
What else can we talk about? Daniel Bryan's situation.
Do you want to know what I think about it, or do you want to know what I've heard about it? Because I'll give you both.
Well, I've heard it's not going too well, the recovery. I've heard that he might have a setback.
Yeah. He has been going through rehabilitation and not enough, and he's losing strength in his arm because he has no feeling in it. So he's not able to maintain a workout. Here's the thing, and why rush him back? If he's not ready, just take the title off him, give it to somebody else, and do a program later where he wins it from that person. Who cares? Give him time to heal. Why rush this? It's not like everybody's screaming for Daniel Bryan every week. They really aren't. They like him when he's there, but they're not. The crowds aren't screaming for him like they do for Punk. They're not.
Right. So if they were to, how do you think they would solve the WWE dilemma? Do you think it would be a Money in the Bank at the next pay-per-view? Well, they already pretty much said if they already announced Kane versus Daniel Bryan in some stretcher match.
Yeah.
If this report is true, I don't see how Daniel Bryan could go out there and have a match.
If his arm has no strength in it to work out.
Yeah.
And they are fighting through getting him rehabilitation. They shouldn't be worried about whether or not he's going to be able to defend his title against Kane at a pay-per-view. I think that they should let him have his time off until he's ready to return. They should. What I would do if I were in charge of creative, rather than trying to make Vince laugh every week or whatever, what I would do is I would remove the championship from him. And I told you this the last time we talked. What they should do is have a tournament that starts the day after Money in the Bank. Have the Money in the Bank match for the #1 contendership. Start a tournament to crown a new champion. This would lead to SummerSlam. You have the new champion, whoever it is. When Daniel by August, September, October, by the fall, Daniel Bryan will be ready to return. The first thing he can do is get a title shot. You got a 3-way match. You got a whatever. But let him rest. No sense in putting the guy in jeopardy to paralyze himself or to have a 50% match. He can't even wrestle. He can't even walk or use his arms. Right. Come on,
What's he gonna do? Pick somebody up over his head and then the arm's gonna give way and then 2 guys are hurt.
He does. He's constantly smacking his head against. And I've said this before. He had that match, that cage match against Bray Wyatt. Or it was a tag match with Bray Wyatt against the Usos or something, and he locked the door and beat up Bray, and the crowd was going crazy, and he was sitting on the top of the cage, and he was doing this. He had a concussion in that match, and he said, I don't remember that. He doesn't remember it because he had a concussion. Now, he throws himself, he does topes, he does planches, from the ring onto the floor, against the wall. He hits his head against that security wall constantly. He does diving headbutts. He throws a drop kick where he lands on the back of his head constantly. I think he's got to take a break. I don't think he should be forced into competition or inaction or on the road or anything else until he's ready to do it.
Yeah, that's what I agree with. I think they should, if he's not going to be able to be back, like you said, strip him the title, whatever, maybe have the tournament like you said.
Yes.
That sounds like a great idea. I can't think of a better way to have it. I mean, you have a tournament that builds up Raw, that makes Raw watchable people want to watch that tournament. You know.
When they had that tournament a few weeks ago for the #1 contender for the Intercontinental title, they were maximizing their minutes on TV. That was watchable television. That was compelling television. You wanted to see who was going to win this thing. That was for just a title shot. This would be to crown a new champion. They could even have the finals at whatever. What's the pay-per-view after Money in the Bank?
Battleground, I believe.
Yeah, they could have the finals at Battleground or something. Like have the tournament on Raw and SmackDown.
I believe that's what it is, Battleground.
Yeah, whatever it is, they could have the finals there. It would be like, wow, we're gonna finally see the final match in this tournament to crown a new champion. You're gonna see a new champion crowned today. That should matter. That's what they should do. And I think just having a ladder match to crown a champion or whatever, I don't know. It just seems kind of lame. I mean, I get it to win that briefcase that you could hold for a year and cash it in anytime you want. That's kind of neat. I like that. I like that concept. I do. Hey, I'm going to step away for a moment. Think about our next topic. I'll be right back.
Go ahead.
Have returned as advertised.
Okay, who do you see right now being in the Money in the Bank, traditional Money in the Bank briefcase match for the briefcase?
Well, you're asking me as it is right now, like if Daniel goes, if he returns and wrestles Kane and then buried alive.
A regular briefcase match, who do you think would be in that?
Well, I was disappointed to see that it's not going to be Dolph. I can't believe it that he lost that they put Del Rio over him. I was shocked about that. They are missing major stuff. They are missing major dollars and major points and ratings by not having Dolph in the top tier. Okay, well, it's not going to be him. I agree with what you said. I think it's going to be how many guys are in it? 7, 6?
6, 7 usually, maybe 8. I don't know. I think there's been as much as 8 or 7 or 8. I think.
Well, they're going to have these qualifying matches in the coming weeks. Maybe RVD, Cesaro for sure because I picked him. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Cesaro will win it, but I think it'll be Del Rio, Cesaro, RVD maybe. Maybe one of the Shield, maybe one of Evolution, maybe Seth Rollins. Maybe they promised him a spot on it or something. I mean, it's hard to tell, but I think what I'd like to see, and somebody said this, and I don't know who, but somebody said about how Paul Heyman always touts Brock Lesnar, or my client is the one in 21-1. And I think if Cesaro wins the briefcase, he can say, you know what, shut up. I'm the number one contender. I'm sick of hearing you talk about this guy. He's never around. I'm around every week. I wrestle every week. I'm here every week. I'd like to see that, something like that. Cesaro winning it, maybe Brock in it. Who knows? I mean, but I think Cesaro will win that. That's at least what the WWE wants. But we'll see. I mean, Vince McMahon changes his mind overnight.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. Apparently, Seth Rollins' heel turn came out of nowhere too.
Of course, and that's what made it smart. That's what made it great. Nobody saw it coming. It rubbed some people the wrong way. Other people loved it. Nobody saw it coming, and it was a shocker, and it was a lot of fun. More power to them. We need to see more stuff like that.
Have you listened to the Vader podcast with Stone Cold?
I listened to the first half. I haven't listened to the Unleashed one yet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I was out at the grilling tonight, and I was listening to Jim Ross his podcast talking to Eric Bischoff. I didn't hear the whole thing yet. I have to catch up on my podcasts. I plan to do that on my next day off.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was very good. Very good. It was a very good conversation, I thought.
See, I love when they have, like, JR and Stone Cold both had Jim Cornette on, and or when they have some wrestlers from 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they talk about what was going on at the time or what was happening and what they like today. And so, man, I love that. That is just so good. And those podcasts are it's such a good idea. I really enjoy them a lot. And like you suggested to check out Jericho's, I haven't heard any of those yet, but I want to. And Roddy Piper's also.
Yeah. Roddy Piper's is okay. Sometimes his is a little, I don't know. Sometimes he gets a little out of control for me.
Just a lot of rambling?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like having me on the O'Reilly podcast?
No, nothing like that, Mark. You are a pleasure to talk with.
Why, thank you. What did you think of my Vince Russo? Was that funny?
The Vince Russo was good.
It was funny. What made me laugh about it, and I watched it again last night or the other night after. What made me laugh is that I made Ryan laugh with that. And because it was funny is because he loves Vince Russo. So if I was able to get somebody who loves that person, is such a fan, to get him to laugh at that, I felt like I must have really hit the nail on the head with it.
That was very good. It took me a minute to figure out who the hell it was for a minute, and then
really,
when he started repeating the stuff over and over again, I was like, I think that was Vince Russo in my head,
Well, I mean, my handle was Vinny Roo. I thought that was a pretty dead giveaway.
Yeah.
It was spelled it differently, but I thought you kind of would have got it.
Yeah. I think I just recently followed Vince Russo. I don't know. I didn't even know he had a Twitter for the longest time.
Yeah, he's cool. He'll reply to you.
Yeah.
He does. And it was funny. You got my Ryan impression faster than you got my Vinny Roo impression.
That's funny.
Didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. What the hell to talk about now?
You're up. You're the host. You should have had prepared.
Yeah, I should have. I didn't do my homework. I thought before,
I'm trying. I don't want to keep it 4 hours like we did last week.
No, me neither. I
have to go to work in the morning.
I'm just trying to think what we can talk about.
Open. Movies, music, wrestling, TV, whatever. I don't care. I'm open.
What's your favorite music, man? Let's get to know each other.
Okay. And I posted this on Twitter and Facebook also. There was a great concert today. It was Rock am Ring. Okay. I like 90s. If I was going to pick one of about 3 different styles of music, I would pick first 3 different styles that I really like the most. But number 1 is 90s alternative grunge stuff like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, Smashing Pumpkins. The 90s that was the last great decade of music because they had everybody. I mean, I love all of that. I love all of that. And what they call grunge. That's my favorite. That's always my go-to stuff, especially Alice in Chains. I always love them. I love Queens of the Stone Age, who are a rock band. They kind of got started in the late 90s. It's a who's who, man. It's everybody from Korn to Metallica to The Who to Led Zeppelin to AC/DC to, I like a lot of stuff. There's not too much new stuff that really ropes me in.
I listen to stuff, but mainly I buy, or I download stuff. If I find out, if I like it, I like it. My favorite band now is basically a band called Shinedown. That's my favorite new band.
Shinedown, yeah. Yeah,
They've been out for a long time, but I always like them. I've seen them in concert 3 times.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, it's it's sad. I went to some Ozfests and I saw.
What was your first concert?
The first concert I went to.
Yep.
A
musical concert.
Of rock.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a concert you might have went with your family or something like that. I'm talking on your own you went to a rock concert. What was your first rock concert?
Metallica in 1997.
There you go.
And that was, I'll never forget it, because they tore the house down, man. That was like a 3-hour set. That was in Pittsburgh in 1997. They played all the hits. It was, man, that was a ball, man. That if you ever get the opportunity to see Metallica, anybody who watches this, go to a Metallica concert. They rocked the house. They tore it down. They tore it up. They performed. That was a rock concert. That was great. I will never forget that. But the Ozfest that I went to were after that, and those were 2 back-to-back years. It was 98, 99. Ozfest. And I am talking, I saw who's who of bands at those 2 shows, and those were also great. But nothing compares to that Metallica concert.
Yeah. My first concert, what the hell was my first concert? My first concert, believe it or not, was my dad had won these tickets from the radio station. I don't know, my dad used to be this whiz at winning tickets to concerts and shit like that. Or stuff at the local fairs or something, I don't know, whatever it was. He was a genius at calling at the right time to this radio station.
Oh, yeah, be the ninth caller. Be the ninth caller and win these tickets.
Well, my dad worked, you see what it was, my dad worked 3rd shift.
Yeah, he worked overnight.
These guys would come in he worked over, and these guys would give away shit during the night. Because it was literally, they would play music and just talk a little bit and play more music. And then every, hour or a couple hours, they would give away shit. It might be
I want a couple
t-shirt too.
Yep, I won a couple of Monday Night Raw tickets that way.
There you go.
Yeah, working at night shift, and I won them.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I worked. Yeah, I'm here. Are you?
Yep.
Are you watching something or listening to
something else? So you won Monday Night Raw tickets. What?
Yes.
Hello?
Go ahead. I'm here. Go ahead.
Okay. My first concert was Frankie Valli and Smokey Robinson was my first concert. Old school artists. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Oh, from the Four Seasons, Frankie Valli, of course.
Yes.
And Smokey Robinson, man.
Yes.
When Smokey sings, I hear violins.
There you go.
I know all the stuff, man. I know music.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me
tell you something else.
I actually met Smokey Robinson. He out of all the people in the crowd, he put in my sitting room, and we got to meet him. I don't know how the hell that happened, but it did.
That's really nice. I went before Metallica in 1994. I went to a concert in Pittsburgh at the Three Rivers Stadium, and it was some sort of an oldies fest and the headliner that day was James Brown. So I got to see James Brown himself perform in Pittsburgh in 1994, and that was before I was really into rock music. I mean, I knew what was going on with rock music, but I wasn't a huge fan yet. But I saw James Brown in concert. But I'll tell you what, this is really interesting to me, is they're talking now about the 20th anniversary of Soundgarden's album Super Unknown, which had Black Hole Sun. Are you familiar with Soundgarden?
Yes, good tune.
Yeah, so that song was very hot around the time that I graduated from high school, and now is coming up to my 20th anniversary of my high school graduation. So I feel very old when I see anything like that.
Yeah, my favorite concert, like you mentioned, you said that Metallica concert. What's your favorite concert you went to?
Well, before I give you my answer, you are really breaking up.
Okay.
Now you sound okay now. Yes.
Okay.
Whatever it was you were doing, don't do that anymore. All right.
Okay.
I will.
Go ahead.
All right. I will break this down quickly for you. Okay. As far as a pure rock show, practically nothing will ever compare to that Metallica concert as a just balls-of-the-wall metal show. It was fantastic. Now, I saw other concerts like those Ozfest where you see 10 to 12 hot rock acts of the day, and they also were great.
Right.
But there was a show that I saw in Seattle, and it was a one-night show. It was an Alice in Chains. It was a benefit show for the tsunami in Indonesia, and this was in early 2005. That tsunami that hit Indonesia on Christmas Day or the day after. This was a benefit show. It was a one-night only gig, and you had Alice in Chains, the remaining members, the surviving members of the group, because Lane Staley had passed away in 2002. So they were there. They did an unplugged set with the frontman from Damage Plan, and later on in the night they did a heavier set with Maynard James Keenan from Tool, one of the girls from Heart, and the frontman from Puddle of Mud. And the fact that they were all up there just jamming, and this show went on for about 6 hours, and it was standing room only, and beer and booze was $1. It was a fun night. It was a purely great experience, and it was extra special because it was only one night. It wasn't a tour. It was just for us that day, and I thoroughly enjoyed that.
That's cool.
But I would say for the last 14 years, though, and I said this, I realized this earlier, and I've realized this for a while now, that my favorite band of the last 15 years was Queens of the Stone Age. Are you familiar with them?
No, I'm not.
I enjoy them a lot, but I don't know. Music is so taste. It's a matter of taste.
Yeah, music, I don't find much new music any good, really. There's not much new music I listen to, really.
No, and for new stuff, if I was going to have to pick 5 bands that were new, if you're talking new, you're talking about the last 10 to 15 years?
I'm talking within the last, probably 10 years, yeah.
For me, Queens of the Stone Age is number one. Number one, even of my life, of my top 5. But the last 10 to 15 years, Queens of the Stone Age, Volbeat, Mastodon, Chevelle, and that's about it. Those 4.
Yeah. Mine for the last 10 years, I would probably say, it's hard to say. Like I said, I really don't listen to a lot of new stuff. I mean,
are you familiar with any of those bands I mentioned? Are you familiar?
No.
So
Chevelle, I've heard of Chevelle, yeah.
I've
actually seen them in concert.
Okay, so then what's in your iPod? What CDs do you have? What music do you listen to? What do you like? What are your top 5 favorite of all time? Because, I mean, all time is kind of rough. Because, like, I like The Who.
Yeah,
And
depends on what.
Yeah.
Depends on what genre you talking. Rock and roll.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of hard to say because I like Van Halen, I like the Who, I like System of a Down, I like there's so much of a mix. But I would say rock of the kind of things I'm talking about, kind of music I'm mentioning, the rock stuff. Yeah.
My favorite band I think of all time. If I had to choose a band that I listened to the most growing up, I would say it was Aerosmith.
Oh. Your boss. Yeah. Okay. I have a friend. He's on he's a Facebook friend. He was one of my employees when I was working as a manager in Seattle at a hotel. Michael O'Brien, Irish boy from Boston, and of course he loved Aerosmith. He was all about Aerosmith. And I said, well, why do you like? He was 19 or 20 at the time, and I said, well, why do you like Aerosmith? Their best stuff was before you were born. And he said this, it's just stuff what he grew up on, and his dad loved it, so he loves it by proxy. But I think what I'm asking is, like, if I were to say to you, Steven, what are your 5 go-to bands? I don't care when.
My 5 go-to bands. Okay.
I don't care what kind of music it is. Yeah, I don't care what kind of music it is.
$1,000,000 and I can go to any concert in the world. I'll put it this way:
all right.
I can go to any concert in the world. The 5 bands that I would go see in concert, probably
Okay.
Aerosmith would be my first one.
Yeah.
Metallica would be my second one.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else would I be? I wouldn't mind going to see Shinedown again.
Yeah.
Let's see. I already saw Green Day. That's another one of my favorite bands is Green Day.
Yeah, Ryan likes them too.
Yeah. I was big. My brother was big into him, so by a proxy, I was big into him, Because that's what he used to listen to,
Yeah.
And another band to go see, can't think of any right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
How about you? If you had no money wasn't an issue, you could go see any band that is still together. Well, that's a hard one. But we'll put it as still alive, and could possibly get back together. Any kind of band that you would want. 5 bands you would want to go see.
Soundgarden. I like them a lot. I know they're back together. I know they're on tour again. I would like to see them. I love the Who, and I know there's only 2 members left. And they did that concert for New York for the flood, or Jersey for the flood or the storm. Remember?
Yeah.
With Paul McCartney, them. Zeppelin. I love Zeppelin. They can't get it together though, Zeppelin. They're always fighting about touring again. But that's another. I was lucky to have seen Alice in Chains, the 3 surviving members of Alice in Chains at that show, and that to me was very special. So I would say because I saw them, I would want to see the Who, Townsend and Daughtry.
Who was that last one?
The Who. It's the surviving members of the Who. Led Zeppelin. Who else? I'd like to see maybe Queen. Soundgarden, like I said, Soundgarden. And of course, I would love to go to a Queens of the Stone Age concert. Absolutely Queens of the Stone Age, no question. I love them, and they're not right now. They're not the original members. They got 1 or 2 other different members. I don't care. I would love to see them too.
Yeah, that's a good list of bands. Okay, I'm gonna finish up tonight. I know you got to go to work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish up tonight with my word association thing I like to do.
Yes.
All right. My first one is I don't know if we've done this one yet, but the British Bulldog, Davy Boy Smith.
Yeah, I think we did. I love Davey. He was one of the ones I was surprised when he passed.
Yeah.
I
Yes, we
like,
did. You already mentioned this. Yeah.
yeah, him. I would say it was probably him, Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude. There was a handful of guys. Of all the guys that passed, he was one of the ones that surprised me the most. I think him and Davey, and they were one of the greatest tag teams that had ever been through the ranks of the WWF. They were tremendous, the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
They kind of remind me. They kind of remind me of the Wolves
Yeah.
of TNA, don't they? A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I think I've only seen a little bit of their stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. They were a little bit before my time. Just when I was starting to watch, I think they were together.
See, that's the thing, man. I got about 10 years on you, so I started watching wrestling when I was about 7, and that was before you were born. I started watching wrestling in about 1983, so I started watching wrestling right before Hulkamania. And I started watching wrestling right when Georgia Championship Wrestling was the NWA, and that was that NWA was on our TV, and WWF, and wrestling was really hot as far as availability and what you could see on TV at the time before it was huge. It really was. Wrestling was on a lot when I was a kid.
There you go. So it was mainly. So you started watching WWE, or was it NWA, or was it?
All of it. Like I said on an earlier chat with you, my dad watched wrestling, and I watched it with him. And he used to get us tickets every month for WWF at the Civic Arena, which is now the, what do they even call it? For the Penguins, or it's now called it was the Igloo. I don't know what they call it now. They wrecked that building.
It's a news center now.
Yeah, they wrecked it. Yeah, they destroyed that. That was sad.
Console Energy Center, I believe.
I'm not. You're probably right. I don't even know. But that was when I heard about
that. I know
it
because I watched the Bruins, so I know when they play them. That's what it is. And they go there for wrestling sometimes.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Is that where they go? Wherever the WWF or WWE goes now.
Yeah, that's the Console Energy Center.
Okay, yeah, that in Pittsburgh. That was when I was a kid. They came every month because you had your area. There was at the time, and this was also for their TV tapings too. Your area, Boston.
Yep. Boston Garden.
Yeah.
That's where they first started coming to.
What?
That's what they first started coming to, was the Boston Garden.
Okay, there was them. There was maybe Toronto, Pittsburgh, New York, MSG, Chicago sometimes. But the WWE was in our region, like the Northeast mostly. Like the NWA was in the South because of the territories. WWE started as one of the branches of the NWA, and it went off onto its own. But at the time, early '80s, it had branched. Its areas were Boston, Pittsburgh, New York City, sometimes Jersey, sometimes Chicago, but it was in the north, kind of more of the northeast.
Chicago was big for them too.
It was, but it was the old school arenas. Before they were called.
Did you say Philadelphia too?
Yeah, Philly, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut. Not so much. Oh, not really Connecticut. There wasn't a whole lot of venues.
No.
But I mean, it was still a matter of
the Northeast.
Yeah, the Northeast. And so that was right fresh off the territories when they first splintered off. So it was a. It came to those were certain hotbeds, and their TV tapings were there, and so when I was a kid, my dad would get tickets for us every month, pretty much every month. He'd get him and I a ticket to see WWF at the time it was called the Civic Arena, and we would go every single month, pretty much for about 2 or 3 years, and I was still in first grade at the time. And like I said, other kids in class were talking about, G.I. Joe and Pac-Man, and I was talking about Don Morocco losing the match against Rocky Johnson or Snuka. I mean, it was a different time. I was a wrestling fan, and the other kids didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But the other kids just didn't. They weren't watching it. I was watching it. They weren't. But also, we had cable when I was a kid, so Dad was watching also Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling or Georgia Championship Wrestling, which was also NWA. And because of that, through him, I started enjoying that as well. They never came up. They never had shows in our area. It was mostly WWF. NWA didn't come up. And I was kind of wished it would have, because I have never seen, as much as I talk about NWA and early WCW, I've never seen them live. I saw ECW, I saw WWE a ton of times, but I never saw NWA, and I kind of always wished I had. Would have been nice to see them. They never came up to our area. It was very rare that WWF would go to Atlanta, or that NWA would come to New York. It almost never happened. Because at the time they had, and I think it was kind of like sports is now, like regional, like with divisions. Like certain divisions don't go to other areas of the country, right?
Right.
So it's the same. It's the same principle.
Right. Yeah. But I think they also ran. Did they run Baltimore, or did WCW run Baltimore?
Well, that was probably. It was more Mid-Atlantic. It was more NWA that was in Baltimore at the time. Yeah. But like I said, we watched it, and I continue to remain a fan. My dad kind of lost interest over the years, and I remained a fan. And he got me started because he had it on all the time. And
yeah, my dad got me started back. Mm-hmm. I don't know. He's been watching since the freaking '60s, dude.
I watched it. Yeah, I mean, hell, I had a book. My grandmother gave me a book of, and I lost it, and I don't know where it is, and that's really a shame. I have a cachet of magazines that I purchased, or I had purchased for me. I had programs and magazines, the after mags as I call them, from the early 80s and late 70s. And one of them that I had was given to me by my grandma, which was, my uncle had them. He would go to the WWF during Bruno's days, and it was full of signatures, and all the signatures were in pencil, so they all started to deteriorate over the years or wear off. And I lost that magazine. And my mom said, of all your magazines, where is that one? Because that would be the most valuable and most much of a keepsake. And I looked at it, and it's gone. So and that's a shame, because that would be something that I would definitely have laminated or something.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I used to go to a lot of events with my dad down in the Boston Garden, the old Boston Garden.
Right.
I don't remember any particular ones really from. Well, I do remember, like, the first one that I remember, it was like our last show at the old Garden. It was a WrestleMania 10 Revenge Tour or something like that, and the main event was Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. Okay,
yeah, the WrestleMania Revenge Tour in 1994. Yep. My friends and I went to that particular tour. I recall this. This is really funny because we went to that particular show. I think it was in June of that year. And my friend Neil, and man, I miss him. He was a great friend.
Yeah, it was probably April for me. It was right after friggin' WrestleMania 10.
We went to the show. We all went dressed as certain wrestlers. I went dressed as Erwin R. Shyster, IRS. Short sleeve dress shirt and red tie and all this, suspenders and stuff. My friend Neil went dressed as the Undertaker, and this was the funniest thing, is we got down by the entrance ramp. And Neil is standing there on a chair, dressed to the teeth or whatever, as the Undertaker. And as they're coming down the ramp, coming down the aisle, Paul Bearer looked over at my friend for a brief second, his face, and he looked over for a split second at my friend, and we laughed about that for an hour because he caught his eye, because he looked just like the way my friend was dressed. I mean, we even went to concession, and he had that hair and that big hat and his trench coat at the concession stand, and people are running up to him trying to get autographs. That was That was just too funny. I didn't pull it off as well as IRS. My other friend did Jim Cornette or something, but
Nice.
my friend did the Undertaker thing. He went all the way. He put like cold cream on his face to make his face all pasty looking, and he had the gray gloves and all this. And little kids were running up trying to get autographs. That was really funny.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I remember anything from. I think the Head Shrinkers was on that show. I think. Trying to think who else was on that show. I think IRS was on the show.
Yeah, Tatanka, the usual 1994 crew.
Yeah, I think it was actually. Yeah, I think it was IRS versus Tatanka, if I'm not mistaken. That I saw.
But I had a bold red tie and a short sleeve dress shirt, white, and it was pretty funny. We all went to have a gag, but it was extra funny that all these kids were running up to my friend thinking he was really the Undertaker. That was just too hilarious.
That's awesome.
Even though my friend was clearly a foot shorter or so than him, it was still funny. Because even Paul Bearer was like.
That's funny. Back to word association. We got kind of off on that, but that's okay.
Sorry.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam Bigelow. Another guy
who died too early.
Who died too soon. Bam Bam. Boy, that was one of the first big men who could really work. Man, he could work circles around a lot of guys. A lot of guys half his size. He was great. Bam Bam. Yeah, boy, he was a trip. I enjoyed Bam Bam. Smart. He knew the business. He was tough. He was a big guy who could move like a guy half his size.
Exactly. He was a great competitor in the ring.
Sure he was. He was.
I saw a lot of his WWE career. I remember watching, Superstars and whatever the hell he was on. I remember getting tapes with him on it, and he was
watch his King of the Ring performance. King of the Ring, 1993. There's another one to put into your phone.
Yeah.
King of the Ring.
Bret Hart?
Yeah, watch this. That whole tournament was great.
Yeah.
But earlier than that, his stuff in NWA against Barry Windham. Oh, fantastic. Go ahead.
He was in NWA? I didn't know he came from there.
Well, no, he came. I think he came from Canada. I think he started in Canada. Don't quote me on that, but I think he started in Canada. But he went through the NWA before he came to the WWF.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had a unique look with the tattoos on the head and the.
His whole head was tattoos, man. There's a shoot interview online. You could probably find it on YouTube. A 3-hour shoot interview with Bam Bam.
I think I've watched some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. He's very frank, very open. He talks about his stuff with LT. He talks about the issues that with the Click. It's a good shoot. I wish they released that somehow.
See if I got any more for you. We'll wrap up here pretty quick.
Okay.
The Iron Sheik.
I think the Iron Sheik is funny. I think his rants are hilarious. I mean, he posts some funny-ass tweets and some posts on Facebook, but if somebody's putting him up to these, like they're kind of making a mockery of him, then it's kind of a shame.
Right.
But he doesn't seem too bothered by it. He's not an idiot. I think he'd know if somebody was jerking him around.
Yeah.
The fact that he's still relevant and he's got probably more love today than he did 20 years ago. And this is another thing, too. Like, remember in the 80s when him and Nikolai did the whole USA, he'd spit, and Iran #1, Russia #1. You might not remember that. It's almost feeling like what they're doing with Rusev now.
Rusev, yeah.
And at the same time, with Zeb Coulter talking about deporting certain minorities or immigrants, I think that his gimmick, Zeb Coulter's, would probably have been a face in the 80s.
You what? You think he's a better face?
No. I said if Zeb Coulter if that particular gimmick were around in the 80s, he would have been a face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love Zeb Coulter.
I was just saying that Sheik's gimmick, yelling in the 80s, him and Nikolai, reminds me of Rusev. But I said that Zeb Coulter's immigration stance would have been hot and very well received in the 80s because of how things were at the time.
Oh, yeah. You had the Cold War going on at that time. I mean, USA, Russia was big in the 80s.
Yeah, that was what I said. All right, go ahead.
I don't think I have any more for you tonight. I'll let you go tonight. We've had a good discussion, and it was good to have you on, Mark.
It was great to be on. I enjoy it. Let's do this more.
Yeah. I want to get some more people on here, so you know anybody? It doesn't seem like they want to only do it on Tuesday, but that's okay with, you know?
You know what, that thing is, you can tell that a lot of people on the show have a lot more to say. When they have me on there, I tend to cut people off because I'm like, well, let's get to this and let's get to this. And only, then you have, Mr. Z and Mr. Lane talking baseball. And, good for them, but I don't follow the sport, so I don't know what they're talking about. And it kind of, I don't know. Anyway, it seems like there should be a second night of Horseman Hangout or something. And I've suggested it to the guys a few times. They're like, well, that's the only night that everybody's available. But whatever. I mean, when you try to get them on, if they can't do it, whatever, man. Our show is just as good, I think.
Hey, we got a viewer. All right.
You don't agree? You don't agree that our show's just as good?
Yes, I love doing our shows. I think our shows, we put if we have a set plan, I think it can go very good.
Well,
I got to do that better. I will do my research next time. We'll give you a day to, we'll think of some stuff and
maybe find a different night than a Friday or a Saturday. I think maybe that's harder to get people on.
Okay.
Maybe in the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or not Friday, maybe Monday. I don't know. Let's ask the guys, because I know Justin was interested in doing another night, and I know Ryan was too. I just don't know when. So ask them. Ask them what's what. See if you want to be on the O'Reilly podcast.
Yeah.
Since, Mark's not good enough? You don't like our little one-on-one here?
No, I like Mark. Mark, you're a good guy. I like talking with you. You have a good mind for wrestling, and we have a good time. So we will definitely do this again.
That sounds great. Thank you.
All right. You have a good night, Mark.
You too, buddy. Good night.
All right. Bye.